For over 11 years, I flew the most powerful tactical aircraft in the world. The F-18 in its day was maybe, I'm a bias, maybe not the best dogfighting aircraft in the world, but I certainly thought it was at least in the top 2 or 3. And over 11 years, I learned that simple turning of some dials or some switches could make a significant difference in the outcome of that particular fight. For example, there were small adjustments you could make on your throttle that would modulate the way your aircraft was turning. So I have a question for you. What if those dials and switches were available to you as a business owner? What if it were possible for you to turn the knob on a few key metrics inside of your business and life and create more impact, more income, and a greater lifestyle? That's the topic of our show today. EdTalks Live is next. Hey there, welcome to the show. My name is Ed Rush. My name is five-time number one. My name is Ed Rush, five-time number one best-selling author, your host for the most positive place on the planet for insanely implementable ideas. And today, I'm going to share with you a concept that I'm going to be writing about in more detail on the weekly flight brief tomorrow, which is what I call the 4 Horsemen of business growth. Mike Toy said right in chat, he said like, he goes, the end must be nigh. I can tell you, it's actually quite the opposite. You know, the 4 horsemen of business growth means the beginning is nigh. It means that great things are about to come to you. And in a moment, I'm going to say hello to our friends in chat. If you haven't jumped in on the right-hand side on YouTube, jump in, tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you do. I see a whole bunch of people just came and joined us on today's show. That's because I sent an email out to you. So welcome to the most positive place on the planet for insanely implementable ideas. I want to give you a context for what we're going to be covering today, and it's this. When I sit down to work with business owners, and I've worked with over 452 business owners one-on-one in coaching programs. Actually, that number just jumped to 456 this week. And when I work with business owners, the first question I say, what are your goals? What are your big objectives? What do you want to accomplish over the next 1 to 3 years? And I start writing those goals down on the whiteboard that we're working together. And every entrepreneur, when they answer that question, answers in a different way, but every answer falls into 1 or 3 categories. Okay, I'm telling you, I've done this for years, and I could bet you a bottle of wine that the first, second, third, and final answer that every entrepreneur tells me will fall into one of these 3 categories. And the first category is income. The second category is impact, and the third category is lifestyle. In fact, most entrepreneurs cover all of the categories inside of the discussion. So for example, when I look at a business owner and I say, hey, what's your big goal? And they say, I'd like to grow my business by $1 million this year, that's income. If I say, hey, what is your goal? What do you want to accomplish? They say, look, I'd like to get my fitness system in the hands of another 100 people so that they can be blessed by the work that I do. That's impact. Or someone says, look, Ed, I just want to be able to take some time off, maybe take a couple-week vacation. I just want to be able to relax. That's lifestyle. Someone says, I want to grow my business by 25%. That's income. Someone says, I want to change the world with my message about gardening. That's impact. Somebody says, I'd like to stop working on Sunday and on the weekends. That's lifestyle. And most of the goals fall into one of those 3 categories. Now, here's the truth. Most entrepreneurs will never, ever, ever, ever make it to those objectives. And I know that sounds like cold, steel-hearted truth, but not for you. Not if you know how, because the fact is, most entrepreneurs don't hit their numbers because they don't know how. But what if I was to tell you that out of experience, working for the last 14 years with business owners, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and world changers, I could show you 4 ways to approach business and life so that you can guarantee yourself more income, more impact, and a greater lifestyle. That's the theme for today's show. We're talking about the 4 Horsemen of business growth. If you haven't had a chance to do so, jump into chat, tell me who you are, where you are, and what you do. All right, so I wanted to say hello to my man, Mike. So Mike Toy was the very first person in chat today. Let me tell you something, Mike. I got a stack of books sitting in front of me. Look at this stack of books. So this is Mike Toy. He sent me his books this week. I was so thrilled, man. I went into that post office. Actually, I'm not normally the one that goes to the post office, but one of my clients said, I sent you a check. I thought I might run down to the post office for this. So Mike's book, The Magic of Sales, The Magic of Management, The Magic of Leadership, The Magic of Influence, The Magic of Persuasion, The Magic of Customer Service, and The Magic of Culture. I think it's really cool, Mike, how you did this grouping of books. There's two parts to it I love. First of all, the branding is outstanding and very brand representative. The second thing, which I really like, is it's all around magic. And if you don't know Mike, Mike is a professional magician, so it fits perfectly with what he does. It's not only brand representative, but it's also brand connected. And now you thought, you know what, Ed? I thought you were just talking about somebody, and now you just learned something, right? When it comes to brand, write this down. There's two components. Number one, brand representative, which means that it looks the part, it looks great and represents you well. And number two, brand connected. It doesn't make sense, for example, for me to go talk about an MLM that sells vitamins in my show, because that's not brand connected. I'm the person that shows you how to make more money, have more fun, have more impact, and have a better life. So very cool stuff. Thank you, Angela. It's been good to see you and good to work with you as well this week. Robert, good to see you, my man, as usual. It's a blessing to have you in the show. Hello, Barry. Welcome back. Episode 80. Can you believe it? With the 80th episode. We're closing in on 100. Maybe we'll throw like confetti and fireworks for episode 100. What's up, B-Rad? Good to see you as well. And everybody saying hello to everybody else. Dr. Wendy Lee, welcome back. If you don't follow Dr. Wendy Lee on Instagram, you should. All right, so today's topic is the 4 horsemen of business growth. And to get into today's topic, I'm gonna go up to the whiteboard, and I'm gonna start through these 4. And I've got maybe 20 minutes of teaching across these 4 things, so grab a pen and write them down. I've got some slides even prepared. Hey, what's up, Hashim? Good to see you as well. Love the Jeep. That's my next car. All right. Oh, great. Angela changed. We were doing some coaching yesterday, Angela and I, and she's going to go absolutely kill it. All right. So that being said, I'm going to jump up on the whiteboard, grab a pen, something to write with. I'm going to move fast through these 4 horsemen, and when you implement them, you're going to see the results. I'll be back in a moment. That literally is just enough time for me to get from there to there. All right, so welcome to EdTalks Live. If you just joined us, jump into chat, tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do. This is the 4 horsemen of business growth. My name's Ed Rush, your host for the most positive place on the planet for insanely implementable ideas. And by the way, I know it's appropriate in today's day and age to say the 4 horse people or the 4 horse women. But it is actually in the book of Revelation, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So I just figured I would keep it the same. I just don't want you to be offended, okay? Just so you know, I love everybody. ELE, everybody love everybody. All right. I'd love to see if you know the reference of that in chat, okay? ELE, everybody love everybody. All right. So the first step now. There's mindset steps and there's skill set steps. This first one is a mindset step. The first step, I have to spell and talk at the same time. Take responsibility. Okay, take responsibility for everything. We live in a strange world. I mean, I want you to think about this for a second. We have phones that connect electronically to towers that can connect to another tower so that you can talk to somebody and see their face. We have cars that connect to satellites. We don't have a water shortage. We go to the bathroom in water. I mean, we live in an amazing, innovative, connected world. I mean, I'm sitting here in San Diego, California, talking into a little plastic webcam with a microphone attached to my shirt. And you, wherever you are, Minneapolis or Australia or New Zealand or the UK or all the way over in India, are listening to me speak to you in real time. That is amazing, man. When I was growing up in the 80s, we had science fiction movies about what we're doing right now. We live in an innovative, wonderful, connected world where there haven't ever been more whiners than now. I mean, you got to think about this for a second. If Louis the 14th came forward in time, Louis the 14th with his pantaloons and his white, white little, stockings and his big flowery feathery hat, Louis the 14th would come to your house and walk into your home. And Louis the 14th would spend the next 3 days marveling at your wealth. Louis the 14th would look at your toilet and look at you and go, "That's fresh water?" And you would go, "Well, yeah, I mean, it's mostly fresh. I mean, when it hits the toilet, it's not as fresh as it used to be, but yeah, I mean, it's fresh water." He would go, "Oh my gosh, you're rich. You're rich beyond compare." And then Louis the 14th would go into your kitchen, and he would open the refrigerator, and he would close it and ask, "What sort of witchcraft is this machine that keeps this food so cold?" And then you go, "You want to see something else? Check this out." And then you would open up the freezer. And when you open the freezer, he would see ice made by this magical machine. And then Louis the 14th would walk over to your sink, and there would be water flowing into the sink, not poured by servants, but just flowing naturally. And then you would push this button, and the compactor would eat up all the excess food that someone in Louis the 14th's day would eat that food, that refuse food that you just destroyed. And Louis the 14th, the richest person of his day, would marvel at what he had just experienced. If you took Rockefeller forward in time, Rockefeller would be blown away that you could stay cool on a 110-degree summer day, and Rockefeller himself would trade his entire kingdom for your phone that gives directions and takes directions. We are rich beyond measure, but we live in a world that has never complained more. I mean, have you been on an internet chat room or on Facebook or on the comments on Twitter or on Instagram these days? The amount of complaining is off the charts. And the reason there's this much complaining is because people haven't taken responsibility. Now, let me just share with you a principle that goes like this. Everything in your life and your business is your responsibility. Now, it may not be your fault. You might have a sales team full of drooling idiots. I'm using that phrase because one of my clients, literally in a coaching day, called his sales team, who weren't there, a pack of drooling idiots. And I'm like, hey, guess what? They may be a pack of drooling idiots, but they're your drooling idiots. And guess what? You hired them and they're still there. So it's your responsibility that there are drooling idiots inside of your business. Several years ago in San Diego, a Navy carrier pulled out of the harbor and directly into a sandbar. The captain got fired. Now, the funny thing about it is the captain wasn't even on the bridge at the time that they hit the sandbar. In fact, the carrier itself was under tug by some tugboats pulling it out of the harbor, who should have known better where that sandbar was. But that captain got fired. You know why? Because Navy carriers don't run into sandbars. It may not have been his fault, but it was his responsibility. And if you have an issue with that story and you say, that's just not fair, guess what? That's the world we live in. And I'll tell you that we live in a world of people who continue to say, that's not fair. Well, the fact is, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the world isn't fair. The world wasn't created fair. The world wasn't designed fair. So to demand fairness out of the world is to demand something that doesn't exist. For example, I would have loved, like when I was in the 80s, I don't know when you grew up, but I grew up in the 80s, like 1984, the Olympics were in Los Angeles. Carl Lewis, 100-yard dash. Dang, man. Do you ever remember how fast Carl Lewis was? And then Mary Lou. Do you remember Mary Lou Retton? Oh my goodness. She did that vault and scored a perfect 10. It was in that moment, 1984, man, I was 12 years old. It was in that moment that I'm like, you know what? I want to be a famous women's gymnast. I was like, I want to be as famous of a women's gymnast as Mary Lou Retton. By the way, this is I'm just joking about this part. Some of you are like, man, I'm out on this show. I was here for 5 minutes, Ed. I'm just using this as an example. I'm like, I want to be as famous as Mary Lou Retton. So I started working on my balance. I started working on my flexibility. But you know what? I wasn't a very good gymnast. You know why? I wasn't created to be a gymnast. I wasn't even created to be a woman gymnast, okay? I wasn't even created to be a woman. But here's the thing. I could be like, it's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair. Or I could get on with my life and take responsibility and be the person that I was created to be. Because the world isn't fair, okay? My two boys, 11 and 13, their favorite line is, Dad, that's not fair. And I say back to them, fairness is my goal. I'm not trying to teach you fairness because the world isn't fair, okay? Somebody may have been born in a family of billionaires, and you may have been born in a family that owed $200,000 and didn't have 2 pennies to put together. You know what? Life's not fair, but what you do with it is what you do with it, and that's your responsibility. So repeat after me. I've got a little motto that goes like this. From this day forward, raise your right hand. From this day forward, I will take full responsibility for everything that happens in my life and in my business. No matter how small, no matter how insignificant, it's all my responsibility. I refuse to blame anything on anyone else, and I will change and I will act that way. Step number 1 is to take responsibility. When you realize that your income is your responsibility and you're receiving what you asked for, when you realize that your team members are your responsibility and you have the team members that you asked for, when you realize that your health is your responsibility and you have the health that you asked for, and I know that sounds rough around the edges, but we attract the things that we have. That's just the way the world works. Now, do bad things happen to good people? Yes. Do people get robbed and shot and hurt and looted? Yes, those things happen. And I'm just telling you, look, I understand that some of those things people didn't ask for and people didn't attract. So the rule that I just described to you is not 100% one-to-one rule, but for the most part, you look at your bank account, your bank account is the setting on your wealth thermometer, and when would now be a time to dial that up? Okay, number two, by the way, if you just joined us, and a whole bunch of you just did, my name is Ed Rush. This is the 4 Horsemen of Business Growth, and man, we got a bunch of comments and chat, so let me just say hello. What's up, David Zetz? My man David, every time dude text messages me, he's made more money. What's up, Diana? Good to see you. Thanks, dude. Very cool. It's okay to say horse. You crack me up, dude. Revelation. Yeah, that's true. Hey, Bob Moore, good to see you as well. Thank you for your comment, Diana. You are amazing. Pantaloons. Louis XIV. If you just joined us, I did this thing about Louis XIV and his pantaloons. It was a little bit of a rant, yes. Maybe not your fault that you've fallen down. That is great. That is great. Carl Lewis with his gold. That was back before Carl Lewis. That was back before everybody wore white shoes, and all of a sudden Carl Lewis showed up with. Now everybody has colorful shoes now, but you know, yes, now it's actually Mary Lou Retton, 4'8". So he said the riff on fairness should stream. Yeah, it's. I mean, here's the thing. It's the way the world is. Look, I didn't vote for it to be that way. We live in a fallen world. You know, we live in a place where sometimes the printer breaks. You know, I always remember. If you ever read the Bible, read Genesis 2. Read about how the world began to fall apart, and then when your printer breaks, you're like, Adam, man, okay. And I know some of you believe different things about that. I'm just using it as an example right now. All right. So I happen to believe it. You don't have to. You don't have to. I'm just using it as an example. All right. So number 2 is actually really important. Increase your skill or your capability. Okay. So here's the deal. I'm going to talk about time in a second, but you have roughly 60 minutes every hour. In fact, we are rushing at 60 minutes per hour to our ultimate end. There's nothing you can do to speed it up. There's nothing you can do to slow it down. In fact, it's really difficult even to manage it. Now, it can feel like hours, some hours take longer and some hours move faster, but that's just a feeling. What's actually happening is what's happening. And the fact is you need to sleep, you need to eat, and you have some social obligations, and there's other things that you have in your life. And so you have a certain window in which you can accomplish your mission on planet Earth, and it's not 100% of the time. Okay, so like one of my visions is to completely change the way we lead in Washington. One of my visions is to create a business that's worth $1.2 trillion. One of my visions is to be able to train 400 leaders for national and international leadership. One of my visions is to see cancer eradicated. One of my visions is to see poverty eradicated with entrepreneurship. And the fact is, I have only a certain amount of time on planet Earth to be able to accomplish those things. So either I can not sleep and just basically work all the time, which would lead to a very unhealthy existence, or you can increase your skill or your capability. I'm going to give you a couple of examples on things that you can do, but what it means is getting more out of the minutes every single day because you flat out get better. Now, here's the thing. The world is speeding up. The market is speeding up. The way in which people make decisions is a lot faster. Think about it. What did you used to do? Like back in the day. Let's go back to the '84 Olympics again, right? I'm sitting there with my family. I'm watching Mary Lou Retton. I'm like, I want to be just like Mary Lou. That's amazing. Mom, I'm hungry. And mom's like, what do you guys want? Pizza. Let's get some pizza. I'm like, great. So mom walks into the kitchen, okay? And she takes out this big, huge book. I don't know if you remember these books. These things were called the Yellow Pages, okay? And mom's like, whoop, over to pizza. Now, if you went to the Yellow Pages and pizza, and by the way, if you are like born in the new millennial, and you're like, what is he talking about? There was this huge book. Like, imagine Yelp. You know Yelp? Imagine Yelp in a big yellow book, okay? And so there's a big book, and flip over to pizza, but like you get into the pizza section, and there are like 50 pizza places, okay? You find your pizza place and you call. You're like, I want a large pepperoni pizza. And they say, large pepperoni pizza. You say, how much is that? They're like, it'll be $28, and throw some sodas in there. And then they say, it'll be sometime in the next 45 minutes. But what they really mean is it's gonna take about an hour and a half. Okay, and then you're sitting there and you're like, didn't I just order the pizza like an hour ago and it still doesn't come? And then it shows up, you got some kid from high school who's chewing gum with his Walkman headphones on, and you give him a few dollar tip, and finally you get your pizza. Well, what do we do now? You get online, you push a button, you actually can see the driver driving the pizza to your house, okay? We live in a faster, connected world. So if you're a pizza place and you're operating on the rules of 1984, you are now out of business. But if you're a pizza place and you're operating in the connected rules of 2020, or more ideally the rules of 4 or 5 years from now, you're going to be successful because you've increased skill, speed, or capability. Let me give you a couple other examples. I took some speed reading classes. There's a reason for that. I read about 2 to 4 books a week, okay? Now, sometimes I read fiction. When I read fiction, I don't do the speed read part. But when I'm reading nonfiction, if I'm looking for the gist of a book, and I want to like bog down, and I'll implement some of my speed reading. So when I first tested myself, I was reading at about 400 words per minute. When I sped my reading up, my goal was to get to 800 words per minute. Think about this. I told you I read about 2 to 4 books a week. If I could speed it up, now I can read 4 to 8 books a week, or I could read those 2 to 4 books a week in half the time. That's increasing skill or capability. Let me give you another one. Typing. I type like a chicken on amphetamines. Okay? It comes out, but if you read like if you ever sit in a Google Doc with me, if you're in a coaching day and we're working together, it's got a lot of yellow or red underlines and green underlines. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't look like words that have to go back and change into words because of this. And so what I started to do was take typing courses so that I could learn how to home key it, you know what I mean? And actually type like a human being. is supposed to type instead of a chicken on amphetamines. Now, why would I do that? Well, basically my whole business is me at my computer. You know, if I'm not talking to my computer, I'm working on my computer. So after the show today, I'm going to be writing the next handful of weekly flight briefing emails. By the way, if you're not on the weekly flight briefing, there's the website. Get my head out of the way. Right there, edrush. If you haven't done that, go there. It's just look, it's my name, all right, edrush.com. Go there right now, put your name and email in. I promise you that I will be generous and kind with what I send you through email, okay? Make sure that you open the first email that I send you so that your emails will get delivered. My next flight brief comes out tomorrow. I'm going to be talking in depth about what we're talking about today, okay? So typing. So think about what can you do to get better at one component of your business. For example, I'm streaming right now on YouTube. This stream will turn into a video that's on YouTube. When I first started out, the videos looked bad, the lighting was bad, the audio didn't work half the time, but we got better as a team. We got better. These little graphics, like this thing down here, this thing here, watch this. When this thing, that thing that pops in, that 3D bumper, or maybe you remember in the beginning of the show, it had a video that had a countdown thing, or for example, this, I should have showed you this. This was the first, I just went right past that. But those things right there that I forgot to show you, those are the kind of things that we've added in. When the show's done, my team has already created a bullet list of the content, and then we have something great to put into the description of YouTube. Well, that came over the course of doing 80 shows. In fact, most of it came in the first 30 shows as we grew and learned as a team. But now we can produce a single 1 hour EdTalks Live show with less effort and less time implemented. In the beginning, when I was launching the show, it would take me legitimately like a half a day per show, a few hours in planning and prep, and maybe 1 or 2 hours afterwards once I got through execution. And now it takes about an hour and a half. There's a show for an hour, and then there's the supporting activities, maybe an hour and a half to an hour 45 minutes. That's a decrease in time with a similar or better result by increasing skill or capability. So look at your business and find out what is it that you can increase in terms of your skill. For you, maybe it's your ability to negotiate. Maybe it's your ability to communicate and persuade. One of the things that I do, I've got this new club. By the way, if you're interested in this, I have a new club called Deal Mentor. There are now 8 new members in my Deal Mentor program. There's 4 new members and 4 of my coaching members. And this is a little deal club where you're gonna get coaching from me, direct one-on-one coaching on your deals. And one of the things I do with my Deal Mentor, I see Angela, a couple of some of my Deal mentees, one of the things I do is give you the word. The reason you need the words is because the right words speed up the process of getting paid, and you get paid more. That's increasing skill or capability. Okay, by the way, if that interests you, email me, coaching@edrush.com. That email is actually going into the chat as we speak. See what I mean? About capability. This is the kind of thing that we've increased and been able to do. Okay, so this is the 4 Horsemen of Business Growth. My name is Ed Rush. Welcome to the show. Let me jump into chat real quick and say hello. Right. I am wonderfully fired up today. I have a new morning meditation technique that I'm working on, and I've got a lot of energy right now, man. I appreciate that. Hey, what's up, Mike Simmons? Good to see you as well. Hashim said, just yesterday I finished the book about speed reading. I love it, dude. Chicken on amphetamines. So, thank you, Barry. I was hoping you didn't notice. So, let me tell you, man, hey, what's up, Bill? Good to see you. Hey, Denise, welcome back. So, Bill, Barry, I was so into teaching that. So you all know I do the weekly flight brief, which kind of, the idea is like it's supposed to be every week. I told Delisa, I'm like, I named it the weekly flight brief. You'd think that I would send it every week. The last 2 weeks, though, I've been teaching Top Gun Consulting, and for those of you who were there, I put my heart and my soul and all my energy into that program. I mean, I was so done by the end of the week, and it was hot last week. I didn't have an air conditioner, which I just got, and so I didn't get it out for a couple weeks. But it's coming out tomorrow, so if you're not there, if you don't get an email from me tomorrow, or you haven't gotten one today, you better get your butt onto the edrush.com. And like I said, I'll be nice with my emails. All right, thank you. And Angela, you are awesome. Some of you know Angela's got a dog that's like twice her size. And that's almost literal, I think. I don't know. The dog's about 180 pounds. All right. So number 3 is really important, by the way. If you just joined us, thank you, by the way. Thanks, Brad. You're awesome too, dude. It was a blast having you on there. If you just joined us, my name's Ed Rush. This is the 4 Horsemen of Business Growth. I covered number 1, taking responsibility for everything. Number 2, increasing capability or skill. Number 3 is increasing marketing activity. Let's hit number 3. Increase marketing activity. So I've done I've had 456 now one-on-one coaching and consulting clients. Most of them I ask, first question, what are your goals? Income, impact, lifestyle. Then I start asking about their activity. And I usually ask something like this: how much of your week is spent on getting new leads or new customers? So for example, I'm meeting with one of my team members today. The goal of the meeting is to discuss an evergreen, ongoing system for getting new leads and sales inside of Top Gun Consulting, the course that many of you took with me last week. The purpose of that meeting is to get new leads and new sales, because leads are the lifeblood of every business. So are sales. If you have neither, something really bad happens, which is you don't make any money. Okay? So marketing activity to me is summarized in any activity that gets a new lead or any activity that's designed to get a new customer. Okay? So, trolling through Twitter to find out the latest political fiasco is not an activity designed to get leads and customers. Okay? Getting on Facebook to complain about can't believe what those fill in the blank of the political party you hate, can't believe what those they did again. I can't believe it. Okay? That's not designed to get new leads and customers. Okay? We live in a world where if you want to spend your life being angry and offended, all you need to do is check into social media. Just read the news, okay? And if you're watching this like a year from now, we're like August 2020, right in the middle of the 2020 presidential election, okay? And there's always a reason to be upset and offended by everything. Now, go into Facebook to put an article or post on there so that people can come to your website and opt in, or creating an opt-in page so that people can download a free book and get on your email list, or buying into an autoresponder like Aweber or Constant Contact or Active Campaign, and setting it up so that you can start to build an email list, and maybe getting onto LinkedIn and posting some content and building your contact network on LinkedIn. One of the things I've done with 2 of my last 3 coaching members is saying, hey, look, your job is to get on LinkedIn every single day and make 20 new connections, 20 new connections, 20 new. You know what that would do if all you did was put 20 new connections every day? Every single day, that's 5, that's 100 a week, that's 400 by the end of the year, that's 4,800 new connections by the end of the year. That's powerful when you do it, and 20 new connections will take you a half an hour a day. So I started to ask my coaching members, I said, how much time do you spend? And what I found was that the average was about 7 to 10% of my customers or of my clients' weeks were spent in activities directly related to marketing. So here's what I did. I mean, I'm talking like everybody that walked out of my office. Everybody that walked out of my office walked out with one objective, and the objective, not only one, but my objective for them was really simple. I said, would you be willing to spend 1 hour a day, focus nothing more than on getting new leads and getting new customers? They all say yes. So here's how you're going to do it, okay? You're going to go to the Google machine. You're going to type in, let me just do it really quickly, just for fun, okay? Check it out. So I'm going to go to Google. I'm going to type in the word timer. Okay, now check it out. When I go to Google, I'm going to share my screen, check it out. When I go to the Google machine and I type in the word timer, see, Google's smart enough now, it just brings up a timer. It's like, they don't even take you to a website that has a timer. It's going to take you right here, okay? So go to the Google machine. Any of these websites will work. Check it out. Watch this. 60 minutes. Hit start. See what that does? I'm going to start counting down. Okay? As it's counting down, here's what you do now. You get back on your computer, you get back in your office, you get in front of your camera in an hour. For 1 hour, the only thing that's allowed during that hour are activities that are designed to get leads and customers. The first question that happens, check it out, watch this. You're like, all right, Ed said an hour. I'm going to do an hour, Google timer, boom, hour. Then you go like this. What should I do? See, actually just asking that question is like an important first step, right? Because a lot of times as business owners, we end up spending our time on all things like, I know how to troll Facebook. I don't know how to get new leads. But what are you going to do? Okay, maybe it's jumping into your email and scrolling through and finding all those people that you had contact and conversations with but never ended up doing a deal with. And simply asking them, what are the biggest challenges you're having in your business? The next thing you know, you find out that they've got a challenge you can help solve. And next thing you know, you got a $5,000 deal. And you're like, man, I'm glad I did what Ed said to do because I just put 1 hour in and I got $5,000. That's a good return on my time. Or maybe you're like, you know what? I haven't put a lot of content on LinkedIn. So you know what I'm going to do, Ed? At least every week for 1 hour, I'm going to write an article and I'm going to post it on LinkedIn. And that's designed to get new leads or new customers. You know what I'm going to do, Ed? I've got 500 people that I'm connected with on LinkedIn. And I'm going to start individually direct messaging each of them, reintroducing myself and asking them what their biggest challenge is, because maybe I'll find a client out of that. You know what I'm going to do, Ed? I'm going to do an online event. It's going to be 2 hours. It's going to be 3 weeks from now. And I'm going to start promoting this. I'm going to charge $47 for people to come to my online event. And then you do the online event. And you're so disappointed because 8 to 10 people showed up and you made 47 times 8 to 10. You're like, shoot, all I made was like $400. And then all of a sudden out of that, you talk to somebody, they've got a huge business, you partner with them. Next thing you know, you're making 6 figures, partnering with them, helping them grow your business. You're like, thank God I did 1 hour a day. It's 1 hour a day. Listen, 1 hour a day? 1 hour a day is like, what is that, like 12%? That's not much. That's 1 hour a day. Now, the goal would be more like 70 or 80% of your day. But could you give me 1 hour a day? Give me, by the way, in chat, if you can give me 1 hour, I'm just talking about for the next week, just try it out. Look on the Google timer. Look, I'm still going. Check it out. It's still happening. It's still going. Google timer. Boom. Now it's up to 57. It's going. The Google timer. It's like it leads. And by the way, what I'm doing right now, one of the best things I did for my business, for real, like one of the best things I did for my business was start EdTalks Live back in March. And trust me, I had a whole bunch of people who were trying to get me to do otherwise. I had several people, people that I know, like, and trust, marketing friends who were like, I don't know, I have not seen YouTube be a good use of anyone's time. You would be amazed. I'll get like, this live show, I'll have anywhere from 20 to 100 people on the actual live show, depending on the topic and the date and the time. So not like a lot, not like thousands, you know, not even tens of thousands. And I was like, man, I was hoping I would have like 1 million people, but you would be amazed of the 20 to 30 people or whatever that are on an actual live show. You would be amazed how the content begins to spread into the corners. I'll take a piece of this video, chop it and throw it onto Instagram, and I'll have 400 or 500, 600 people watching a small piece of a content from a show like this. You'd be amazed at what happens if you can dedicate yourself to creating some content. Like the weekly flight brief. That's coming out this week. All right, so for those of you who just joined us, welcome. My name is Ed Rush. This is the 4 Horsemen of Business Growth. I will recap those and tell you what number 4 is in just a second. Before I do that, let me say hello to some of you in chat. Good to see you. September 1st. It is September. I can't believe it. I know, I told my wife last night, I'm like, is it actually September? Like Christmas is coming around the corner. Good to go. She says, I'm in 1 hour a week, baby. Thank you, Barry. Very nice of you to say that. I'll answer that, Arthur, towards the end of the show. Great. And I created a podcast too. I can talk a little bit more about it when we get towards the end. I'll have time. I'm about to make my 4th point, and then I'll do some questions. I'll talk about why I like YouTube, Arthur, and why I chose this over YouTube Live. By the way, I am streaming this on YouTube Live because you can see Brad is on Facebook. Sorry, I'm streaming it on Facebook as well. Right now I'm streaming on my Facebook page, my Facebook profile, YouTube, and then on Periscope, Twitter. Hello, Angela's birthday. 2 of my kids are born in September as well. My little baby's birthday is 2 days from now. Get to move the car seat around in California when that happens, which is a big deal. All right, so number 4, and the last one. So number 1, we covered, by the way, if you just joined us, my name is Ed Rush, This is the 4 horsemen of business growth. Number 1 was take responsibility for everything. Number 2, increase your capability or skill. Number 3, increase your marketing activity. Number 4 is, drum roll, maximizing your time. I started my time riff earlier when I said we're moving at 60 minutes per hour towards our ultimate end. And you've got a certain period of time to get done what you need to get done. The fact is, most entrepreneurs I know are really bad about this, about time. And the reason why is really simple. Most people try to manage their time, but see, time can't be managed. It doesn't go. It doesn't move slower or faster. You don't have, you're not in the matrix. You're in the world. And it's just moving. I mean, look, if you want to see the evidence for it, there it is. Look at that, 7 minutes since I clicked that Google timer on, okay? It's just moving, okay? And that's not good or bad, it just is. It's just the world that we live in. And so there's 3 ways to maximize the use of your time, and it's not time management. Because you can't manage time, but you can manage 3 things. You can manage people, you can manage systems, and you can manage you. Sir, people. There's essentially 2 ways to systematize a business. You'll notice I didn't say automate. Automation is part of systematization, but it is not systematization by itself. Let me give you an example. Some of my clients that I've spoken to over the last 2 years, 2.5 years, are martial arts business owners. If you're familiar with that model, you walk in, you talk to the person at the counter, you sign your kid up for a trial, they end up staying long enough, 6 or 7 years to become a black belt and eventually an instructor, but it starts when you walk in, okay? So, I know a lot of business owners are like, Ed, I just want to make money while I sleep, and I just want people to sign up automatically, and it's important for the martial arts school owner to have a great website and a place for people to sign up online and great Facebook posts that are going because they scheduled them to go at a certain time. And all of the things I just said are automation. But when someone walks in to a martial arts school, what normally happens when they walk in the door to a school is one of 50 things, right? So parents may walk in and it may be some 16-year-old sitting at the desk and they're like, hey, what's up? And the dad's like, dang, I don't want to take my kid to, hey, what's up place. And next thing you know, that sale just walked out of the door. Or they walk in and the owner's like super busy because the owner's about to hit the mat to teach the black belt class. And they're like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, how are you? Hey, let me give you a quick tour. And the tour, they take them through where all the sweaty socks are. There's geese hanging up on the wall that have sweat, haven't been washed in 7 days. And the parents are like, oh, this place smells horrible. And now that sale just walked out the door. But the schools that I've taught or work with create systems so that when someone walks in the door, the first thing is a handshake. Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. My name's Ed Rush. I'm here at Blue Dragon Karate. I just want to tell you, we're excited to have you here and you're in good hands because what we do here is important in the lives of kids around the world. So what brings you in here? What are the big things you're looking for with your son or daughter? And then you hear that and then you start to have that discussion. And next thing you know, the paperwork shows up where they get the free trial that goes to $149 a month because that's a system that works every time. And you'll notice that that has nothing to do with automation. That just has to do with systematization, okay? So there's 2 ways to systematize. It's either through your people, which are required in a good business, or through your automation. You catch that? So if I, as a business owner, if I can have a computer robot do something for me, I'm gonna have that happen, right? So for example, when you go to, I'll give you one of the websites. So when you go to edrushbook.com, okay, when you go to that website, you'll see that you get opted in to a membership site for 21 Day Miracle. By the way, if you're new to me and you don't know what 21 Day Miracle is, go to Ed Rush Book, okay? Just go to this website, get the book for 99 cents, it'll blow your mind, and then you'll be like, he was right, okay? So when you go there, you put your email in, you're going to get access to a membership site, and you're going to get an email back. Both of those things happen in an automated way. I don't have team members who are like, someone just opted in. Now, membership site, click. There's nobody doing that because it's automated. Because if I can get a robot or a computer system to do something for me, I will. Now, my team members helped me create that, and my team members help sustain that, right? To make sure that it's still working, that all the pieces and parts are connecting, because sometimes those things don't happen, okay? And my team members are also the ones, when somebody gets that and they send an email and they're like, wow, this is really great. When's Ed's next event? They can talk about that too, okay? That's the people interfacing with the systems, interfacing with the automation, okay? So one of the most important things you can do is lead, train, and delegate to your people. Most business owners have like this open door thing. I don't do open doors. I'll go away for a week and not even talk. You can ask my team. There are times when I go away for a whole week, disappear off the grid, and I come back and I go, what's up? And they give me a little update and we're good. That's because the business is systematized. Now I have very good people, okay? Very, very, very good people. But that's all part of the systematics as well. How to attract good people, right? I don't do much of the hiring. My people do much of the hiring because they're better at it than me. Okay, those are all systems. And then finally, how do you systematize yourself? How do you manage yourself? For example, right now my goal is to meditate for about an hour a day every morning. That creates the necessity for a disciplined schedule. A certain bedtime, a certain wake up in the morning time, a certain not hit the snooze 75 times time, get your butt downstairs, get some coffee, close your eyes, set a timer, get it done. That's a system around me. That's a system around improvement. There's some things I'm working on reading right now. That requires for me setting aside some time, what I call PDT or personal development time, to be able to get that done. Okay, so there's way more on that. Some of you have my 21-day time management course. I don't have a link for that. I think, Delisa, you might. If you do, put it into the comment section. That system, that 21-day time freedom system, is, I believe, the definitive system when it comes to time management. And the people who've taken my 21-day challenge have maximized big time their time. Okay, so little summary, then I'm going to come back to the center camera. Take some of your questions. Number one, take responsibility for everything. Remember, it may not be your fault, but it is your responsibility. Whatever happens in your life is yours. If you find yourself connecting to the whining crowd, man, stupid politicians. If you find yourself, I'm telling you, everybody, we're all there. I get it. Like sometimes I look at the news and I'm like, man, can't we all just get along? You know, like I get it. I get there's a lot of emotion there, but if you find yourself getting upset, it's like, hey, guess what? Here's the thing. You know what I realized? I'm just going to say it. Our government is screwed up. Y'all know that. I mean, we are led, and I'm not talking about the White House. I'm talking about everything. Congress, Supreme Court, state government, local government. We're being led. They're not all bad, but for the most part, we're being led by unethical, bad leaders that we asked for. You know why? Because good people didn't step up. Because good people were like, I don't want to, I saw what happened to Brett Kavanaugh. I would never want that to happen to me. So good people didn't do it. So guess what? Whose responsibility is that? Ours. So you don't like what's happening in Washington? You don't like the Congress? You don't like the Supreme Court? You don't like what's happening in your state? Like I don't here in California? Goodness gracious. You know what? That's my responsibility now. I realized at one point, I'm like, you can complain about it or you can do something about it. So I just decided to do something about it. By the way, if you're new to this show, it's Ed Rush for America. Go there, it'll blow you away, some of the stuff that we wrote there. Okay, now, that hasn't come to fruition yet, but I realized all that frustration, you know, can't believe these are the only two candidates. That's our responsibility now, my responsibility. I can complain about it or I can put the blame where it belongs, okay? And when you do that, you take the next step towards getting a solution to the problem. That's number one. Number two is increasing your skill. So take this as an example. Some of you know, eventually I'm going to be in the White House. Well, to get there, I'm learning to communicate more effectively. I'm learning how to say things in a way that makes more sense when I communicate to people. That's not the only thing that I'm doing. I'm learning about American history and where our founding was and reading the Federalist Papers and finding out why did they decide to do things this way. That doesn't seem to make any sense to me. Like, for example, Alexander Hamilton was against the amendments to the Constitution. One of the reasons he was against the amendments is he said, the government should never go against those things because we've only given them this limited number of powers. Well, he's kind of wrong about that, right? But eventually, we had to amend the Constitution 27 times. Well, it was interesting understanding the arguments that they had there and how they inform our discussion today. I know today the common thing is to look back at the founding fathers and be like, what idiots, you know? But maybe 100 years from now, people are going to look back at us and be like, what idiots? They probably will, okay? Because the world changes, you know what I'm saying? But if you increase your skill, you're going to be able to do more in a certain period of time. Number 3, increase your marketing. This has to do with leads and customers. My challenge to you is 1 hour a day. Number 4, maximize your time. All right, so I'm going to play the bumper real quick and come back and sit in my center camera. And I'm going to take a few questions. I'm going to take a deep breath, man, is what I'm going to do. Woo! Oh, man. You guys crack me up. Robert, my third child is September 25th, 9 months after Dad and Mom exchanged. The Christmas card wasn't, well, yeah, it did have something to do with Christmas. Let's see. Thank you. Congratulations, Angela. All the September birthdays. Arthur, I'm going to get to your question. I'll wrap up with this one. Wow. Oh, man. A lot of September people. You all just started talking about birthdays all of a sudden. What's up? Yeah, don't watch the U.S. Don't watch Canadian news either, Denise. Don't watch either. Diana, no wonder you're such a joyful person, Diana. She hasn't watched the news since 1990. She watched Mary Lou Retton and Carl Lewis, and then said, I'm done with the news. By the way, this guy that I follow was talking to a person who had moved here from China, and the person from China said, why do you guys still watch the news? And he goes, well, because it's the news. And the person from China said, well, we don't ever watch the news in China because we know it's propaganda from the state. He goes, but you all watch it and you don't know that it's still propaganda from the state. So anyway, all right. I just banged on my desk and my whole monitor went away. There we go. Thank you, Barry. Yes. It's true. Thank you, David Zetz, for the time mastery course. By the way, you will never hear me say, I'm going to do your question, Robert. If you have any questions, if anybody has any questions, now's the time to put it in chat. I'm going to do an open Q&A segment on Thursday this week, almost definitely. So, a side note, you will never hear me say, now, when I was in the Marine Corps, you get taught that the Commander-in-Chief is the President of the United States. When I joined the Marines, there was a person in charge whose name was Bill Clinton. And when and then it was a guy named George Bush, and then it was President Barack Obama. So I had all different kinds of presidents from a bunch of different places and all kinds of walks of life. And in fact, I think Clinton was a little before my time, if I remember. But I was going in then, or I don't remember, whatever. I think he was. My point is, I learned that the president is the commander-in-chief. And what I learned as a military member is you're welcome to disagree with the president on policy terms. You're welcome to disagree with their stance on taxation or school choice or whatever it is. But you better not MF the president in public because the president is the commander-in-chief. And I understood that the office of the president was deserving and worthy of respect. Now, there's some people I know who are like hardcore Trump hater folks who are like, yeah, but, you know, he doesn't deserve the respect, so the office doesn't. The point of the office is not the person, it's the office, okay? So, you will never, ever, ever, ever hear me, and I'm talking about both sides, you will never hear me say anything negatively evil against the person who's in the office. And that was true for Bill Clinton, it was true for George Bush, and it was true for Barack Obama, and it's true for Donald Trump, okay? So you won't hear me say anything bad. You won't hear me say about anybody who's the president, because I believe in a system where we do have honor for those who are in authority. If you want to know where that belief system comes from, You need only go back about 2,000 years to this book in the New Testament called Romans. In the book of Romans, Paul, who was writing in the 13th chapter, was giving some instructions to Roman citizens. And he said, you should subject yourselves to the governing authorities. Later on, he said, pray for those who are in authority over you that you may live a peaceful life. And in other places, he spoke of honoring those in authority. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. That person, Paul, was living in an era where the Roman governor, whose name is Nero, was physically burning Christians to use them as examples. He would put them on top of posts and use them to light the road to Rome. And Paul said, you should honor your governing authority. So I'm pretty sure Paul wasn't like in favor of that all like burning the thing, but at the same time, he understood that there's honor structures that are in place in the home, that are in place in the government, that are even in place in businesses. So it's an interesting thing to think about what's happening in our culture right now, because we've lost an understanding of honor, not because of the person, but because of the structures that have been in place. We've lost that sense of honor, and now we're beginning to see anarchy. Those are not principles that are divorced. I could go on and on about that. That doesn't mean they're right. It doesn't mean that they make the great decisions. They passed $1 trillion spending bill. I was like, oh my gosh. And I was very much against that, right? So it's okay to be against the policy. It's just be careful when it's the people, okay? Yes. All right. Barry said, I've been through 14 presidents. Amen. It's our country anyway. I usually start mine on Monday, Hashim. I usually start mine on Monday. But you can do it whenever you want to. Everybody has their thing. And the latest app that I've been using is an app called Habitbull, HABITBULL. I get no money I just use it. I get no referral commission. I just use it. Okay? I'm going to answer one more question, and then I'm going to wrap up today. So, where is that question? Well, it had to do with why I chose YouTube. There it is. Arthur said, why did you choose YouTube instead of Facebook Live? So first of all, I stream to all of them. Second, LinkedIn hasn't approved me for streaming because right now they're out of their mind, okay? I put in about 15 support requests, and it's like LinkedIn's customer support for a company like that, okay? I don't want to insert my Bill Gates comment now. Hey, look, I use a Mac, and there's a reason I do, because my PCs I always used got viruses and slowed down. So LinkedIn, which should be this amazing platform, still hasn't approved me for LinkedIn Live, and I have almost 11,000 connections on LinkedIn. That's how crazy this is, okay? The reason I chose YouTube is because of YouTube's chat feature, which is near real time. Facebook takes a little bit of time to update. LinkedIn takes a little bit of time to update. Arthur, and I had my own following, so I have my own email list and following that I could bring to YouTube. Now, it's been my experience that YouTube doesn't give me a lot of extra people. So it's not like YouTube's out there like, let's just send Ed like another 1,000. It's not like that. All the traffic I got, most of the traffic I got from YouTube came from me paying for traffic on YouTube, okay? So the extra views that I got on a lot of my shows either came because my guest sent those people or because I paid for traffic on YouTube. So, for example, Michael Haig's shows, well over 1,000 views. Marquetta Breslin's show, 3,000 views. A lot of those came from the guest itself. But I chose YouTube because, number one, the streaming's really good. Number two, I really like the real-time chat feature. My recommendation for choosing a streaming platform, first of all, use the system that I recommend, which is edrush.com/StreamYard. That's the system I'm using right now. edrush.com/StreamYard gives me the ability to do this kind of thing, to put these sort of things in there, stuff in there. It helps all those things, okay? So use edrush.com/StreamYard. That's my affiliate link to my streaming platform. So yes, I do get a commission from that, but you pay, actually you get a better deal when you do it through me anyway. And then Arthur, pick your platform that you have the most number of followers on and start streaming there. And even if you have 2, 4, 5, 6 people on your first thing, it's just you getting going, okay? Don't despise the day of small beginnings. All right, so with that said, man, don't get me started. Thank you, Vanessa. That is a very, very, very nice comment. I appreciate that. All right, we are out of time. So don't forget, I like you and I love you. And you're going to do amazing things in this world. Just focus in on some of the ways that you can grow. The 4 that I covered today: number 1, take responsibility. Number 2, increase capability or skill. Number 3, increase marketing activity. Number 4, maximize your time. My name's Ed Rush. This is EdTalks Live. Come back on Thursday. We're going to do open Q&A. It's Ask Me Anything show. So I'm going to let you drive the content on Thursday. We're going to have some good fun talking about how to grow your business and your life. Go change the world, please, please. I mentioned before how this world is our responsibility. One of the most important things you can do is just communicate what God has given you to communicate. Man, that could be about health or beauty or fitness or dieting or business or life or cancer or whatever it is that you have been given the gift to communicate about. But boy, do people need to hear positive stuff right now. When people get done with this show, a lot of times they'll tell me, Ed, I just left feeling hopeful and optimistic. And you know what? That message is inside you as well. Right now, we have a world that is battling against itself to try to get to the lowest form of human existence. Well, let's take it to the highest form of human existence. Like when I said, I like you and I love you, I mean that. And the reason I say that is because love is like, it's like one of the highest, most powerful forms of existence. If we only understood that, most of our injustice problems in our country would go away like that. And so let that be your encouragement to just step out with a little bit of courage, share your message in a way that may be a little uncomfortable for you, and forget about the result. Sometimes it's the actual activity that gets you to the next step to where you need to be. Okay, I'm Ed Rush. This is EdTalks Live. It's been a blast and an honor. I'll see you in 2 days. And out.